How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So good to see all your smiling faces. It's been a while since I've done a video in the studio at the desk like this. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite cameras, the Canon Eos R, and is it still viable, worth it in 2021? For those of you that know me, you know that I shoot everything, both photos and video, on my Canon EOS R, which you are seeing right here. It has amazing video quality at 30.3 megapixels, and it can shoot 4K Ultra HD up to 10-bit 422 with an external recorder. Downside of the 4K is it's got a 1.8 times crop, which I never use. I still, in this day and age, don't think 4K is really a necessary thing. Sure, it's good for punching in and punching out in videos, but I don't find it necessary. I've never used it. I've never tried using the functionality. Just never seemed worth it to me. The EOS R has Canon's signature dual pixel autofocus. I have tried a lot of cameras, and so far nothing beats the dual pixel autofocus of Canon cameras. That, coupled with this being one of their best shots at the IAF, you can't see, I can see it. It's tracking mine no matter where I go, left, right, and when I can't see my eyes, it'll track my face, or it'll track the last thing that it is focused on. So if I turn around, it'll focus on my hat. You can't beat Canon dual pixel autofocus, at least not right now. Canon EOS R was also Canon's first shot at a full-frame mirrorless camera, and with it came the beautiful RF mount that I'll show you right here. It's amazing. Stills, you can get up to 8 frames a second, high-speed continuous shooting. As a photo camera, bang for your buck, this is one of the best cameras you can still get today. And that is why I bought a second one. Now, a lot of you are probably asking yourself, why would I buy a second R body as opposed to an R6 or an R5? Well, realistically, I don't need it. Other than them being over $1,000 more just for the body, I don't really need any of the features. And sure, like having in-body I can't speak today. In-body image stabilization, that would be great. I'm mostly a still shooter. Ever since I switched to this camera right here, I have upped my game significantly. I used to have a 6D Mark II, and that worked for a long time, but I had kind of gotten to know the ins and outs of the camera itself. I knew it like the back of my hand. I knew where all the dials were. I was good with it. It was comfortable, but I couldn't push that camera any further than I already had. I decided to stick with Canon and go with the EOS R about mid last year, just before the R5 and the R6 came out, for a couple of reasons. The EOS R just feels familiar and comfortable in my hand when in comparison to something like the 6D Mark II or the 5D Mark IV. Maybe not as much the 5D Mark IV, because rotating touchscreen, vari-angle. Like, I can, with my 6D Mark II, I can vlog pretty easily with this. It's fantastic. Another reason I just didn't get another DSLR is because the ISO capabilities and the low light capabilities on the R are so much better. So much better. I don't get this crazy noise when I'm shooting at 6400 ISO. Like, that's ridiculous. I can shoot at 12,800 ISO with this thing and still recover the image. Granted, I would never actually shoot at that if I have the right lens, but it's good to know that if I need to, like really need to, I can, and I won't have a problem. Now, I do some video work. I'm actually working on producing a TV show with my buddy Dave right now, and we kind of needed a second camera body, and I figured what better to match footage together for multiple angles than another EOS R. I didn't buy this full price. I actually bought this used for, well, the price is still on here, $1,679.50 Canadian. That's a good price considering I paid about $2,300 for this one with the kit lens, and the kit lens is kind of a little bit garbage. I should really make a video on that. That'd be interesting. But it's not the f4, the 24-105 f4L lens. It's the basic. Hold on. Basic kit lens. I just love how beautiful this ring is. The RF ring. It's so big, so much bigger than the EF mount. Clicks in. I also really love, one of the things that I loved aesthetically about the EOS R is not only the size, but the actual Canon lenses, not the aftermarket ones. They've got this little lip here that just makes it look a little more modern, like everything fits in place a lot better. Focus. I love it. It's worth the price. It is. Especially for stills. If you're a still shooter, especially portraits, if you try and take this to a sporting event, 8 frames a second, not going to do it for you. You're going to want something a little bit faster. You're going to want the R6, the R5. If you want something even faster, I think the fastest frames per second you can get on the market now is actually the Sony Alpha 1. Not that I recommend Sony whatsoever. Not a huge fan of their lenses. The quality just isn't there for me. But if you do portraits, if you do landscapes, even like home photos, anything like that, this will do you just fine. The R will do fantastic for you. Talked a lot about the photos. What about the video? Well, you can see a good example of the video right now. You can do 4K 30 frames a second and 24 frames a second. It can do 1080p at 60, 30, and 24, and it can do 720 at all of those plus 120 frames a second. I'm actually going to make a video on that because it is a lot more usable than you think it is. I surprised myself, honestly, with 120 frames a second. Canon's color science for both video and stills has always been top of the market. It's been some of the best color science that I have seen, and it stands that way today. Sony has improved their game significantly in the last couple of years. Nikon, we don't even talk about Nikon here. They're not even the race. Now, for some reason, the biggest thing that everyone can talk about when it comes to should you get the R, the R5, or the R6 is the in-body stabilization, which is fantastic. I tried the R5. I did a huge walk around at the Canon road trip event here in Canada. It's great. It is really great, but it's not necessary. EOS R does have digital stabilization, however that will give you several different crop factors depending on how much digital stabilization you want. There are 3 different levels of intensity and obviously off. You can also get lenses like the 35 that has built-in optical stabilization. So if I move it around, it's a lot better for stills than it is for anything else, especially at such a wide angle. It's when you really start to punch in and get something like a 70-200, which has, I think, the RF 70-200 has 15 or 16 stops of built-in optical stabilization. That's nuts. Still pretty cool though. Even this kit lens has a little knob here for image stabilization. The other thing people like to talk about a lot when choosing between the R, R5, or R6 is the frames per second of the video. Yeah, we should kind of have 1080p at 120 in this thing, considering that Sony had it before this came out. It would have been nice to see. It definitely would have. And also no crop on the 4K. would have been real nice. It is what it is. Overall, do I recommend getting the R in 2021? Absolutely. It's the best bang for your buck. I mean, I got this used for a little over $1,600. Totally worth it. Worth the investment. Would I buy an R5 or an R6 over it? No. No, I wouldn't. Do I want one eventually? Yes. Do I need one right now? Absolutely not, especially considering the price, and I need more glass. I need more lenses. So this is kind of allowing me to get what I need out of having two cameras and kind of save a little bit to get better RF glass. Because right now I think all I have is that 35, this kit lens, and my Rokinon 85 f1.4. Beautiful lens. If you want to see a video about that, I'll put a link in the description. Not my best video. This is one of my favorite cameras of all time. I will likely never get rid of either of these cameras because I love them so much. Sure, I may get an R5 or an R6 eventually to add to my collection and just have something else in my repertoire, but not really necessary, not right now. I would suggest waiting for the next Canon mirrorless camera to come out. That's just my opinion. You really need that extra stabilization and you're still shooting handheld for whatever reason, totally doable, by the way. Get a gimbal. Okay, instead of spending $1,000 or $1,500 extra to get a body with built-in image stabilization, get a gimbal. Even with the R5 and the R6, you're gonna want to get a gimbal anyways. So save yourself the money for getting something to stabilize it, or even a Steadicam. I bought a gimbal for like $300 and it works just fine. Don't need the in-body. Sure, it's a bit more to lug around, but get the quality and you get a level shot. Just my opinion. That's gonna do it for today, guys. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you stuck around to the end. I would very much appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe, or any one of those three, preferably all, please. It actually helps out the YouTube algorithm a lot, so I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Cheers.